Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Ferrum Academy. My name is Tom from the marketing team here at Ferrum Network. Please welcome Ian, the COO of Ferrum Network. Hey Ian.
Hey everybody, happy to be here.
Yeah, super happy because I think that what we're going to talk about today is actually one of the most interesting questions for our community because we are going to focus on the incubation side of Ferrum and the pre-sales side of Ferrum. So we're going to talk about everything that happens behind the scenes before the community members can see the announcement of a pre-sale snapshot and the pledge forms and contribution links and all this kind of stuff. I think it's quite interesting for everyone to find out what happens before that. So maybe we can start on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart because a lot of my time is spent actually helping and advising and assisting and also vetting these projects that we ultimately incubate and help launch. So it's most of my day is spent on this, and obviously management stuff and some marketing stuff, as Tom knows, but I don't need to work on that very much anymore because Tom's so good. But yeah, on the incubation side, by the time the community sees a pledge form come out, there has been a tremendous amount of work that has gone into this project before really anyone even really knows about it. But even before the work, there's the vetting period. A lot of projects come to us now and they're looking for our services, our fundraising services, marketing services, some of our technology, our white label technology. So we get a tremendous amount of deals, opportunities coming to us, but we need to vet them out. We take very seriously our obligations to the community. Of course, we invest into the projects that we're incubating as well, and we have to take a stake in those companies, and so we have an interest in them performing well. And so the vetting process is maybe just as important as any other part of the preparation work. And so that, of course, involves being pitched to the project. The project will schedule a call. No, normally what happens is someone will refer us a project, VC or a partner or a launch pad or others who work within this sort of space of early stage projects. They'll send us a project overview, which would include a pitch deck, token economics, description of the team, so on and so forth. So we'll do a review of those materials. Myself, Nathan Chorus, Nick Hellman, and oftentimes Nick Odio are the ones on the firm team who are doing this initial vetting. If a project seems promising enough to schedule a call and get to know them, we will schedule that call and they'll pitch the project to us. We will spend an hour or so with them asking questions, understanding the project, honing in on things like token utility, product, what's the product market fit, team experience, previous successes or failures, various factors that we believe will indicate whether a project ultimately will do well from an investment standpoint. We have that initial call. Normally, then, if there's still interest from our side, we would conduct enhanced due diligence, meaning we would start to review, if it's a technology-based project, potentially, with its own mainnet, we may ask for the GitHub and look at the GitHub and see how active that is, and are they able to follow through on their roadmap from a technology standpoint. We start to ask around for sort of references. Okay, you say so-and-so is invested. Let's actually confirm that. We kind of go with the mentality of trust but verify. Trust but verify. We don't assume everybody's lying, but this is crypto, and you got to be careful, especially when we're ultimately going to make an investment in this company and recommend the community invest or what have you, or giving that opportunity for the community invest, I should say. So we do take that very seriously. So there's a due diligence process. normally lasting anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. Number of calls will happen within that period in all likelihood. And then ultimately, we need to make a decision whether we want to take that project on as an incubation client, if that's an opportunity for us to come on as advisors, or whether this maybe is a later stage project. They don't really need advisory as such. They're just looking for some marketing and fundraising from Ferrum community. And, we need to make a decision whether we want to move forward with that. And so ultimately, we will make a decision one way or another. But the key to understand here is through this vetting process, we're vetting out, 9 out of 10 projects, probably even more than that, really. So by the time, and that's just the vetting. Then there's the work, the months and months and months of work that go into making a project ready for a launch, which I can go into now. But I just wanted to explain the due diligence process that we make projects go through. I think it's probably more thorough than most in this space, and that's for everybody's benefit.
Okay. I mean, this is really interesting for me as well because I don't usually take that much participation in the incubation because obviously there's a whole different department to do that and they focus on that. But okay, so you've explained the mainly the vetting process as well, which is actually great because it just shows that we do our due diligence on making sure that the projects that we actually take on are top class basically. Sounds a bit like Dragon's Den or Shark Tank in the US. Because that's usually what they do as well, which is great. But actually going to the Shark Tank and the Dragon's Den, what I love to watch the most is actually the behind the scenes after those companies startups they launch. When the mentors, the people, the judges and the investors, when they discuss the previous startups that were there, like months or like years ago before, and if they actually miss that, if they think that, oh damn, I could have invested in that company, do you don't need to give us names, but do you see a project out there that's already launched that came to Ferrum and you vetted it and you didn't think that it's actually a good fit, and now you're thinking like, oh,
when it went to do well,
yeah,
then it went on to do well? Oh, I'm sure. I mean, look, there's a lot of good projects out there, and oftentimes when they come to us in an early state, or they're in a category that isn't currently hyped up, and then all of a sudden that category explodes. These things can happen, right? Like you can't catch them all. There's too many projects, too many good projects.
mm-hmm.
We can't possibly capture all the good ones, especially because of the hands-on actually incubation and advisory process that we help the projects with. There's only so many hours in the day, only so many people on the Ferrum team. So, right now we're incubating a lot of projects, probably like 10 or something, maybe even more. Partially that's because a lot of them haven't, ones that, in a bull market probably would have launched already, but just are holding off. So it's sort of creating a little bit of a backlog, so to speak. But we've definitely missed out on opportunities. We've also captured opportunities too, right? We've been in front of trends before. I'm proud to say we were, part of the digital fitness DFIT project before this whole move to earn thing became big. So they're now seeing some resurgence because of that. Network on the metaverse side, that was a huge one for us, and they've done a great job. So there's been a lot of projects that we've sort of, I think, seen the landscape and predicted a little bit. But it's tough. You can't win them all, and even the projects that we vetted very well, who actually follow through on their roadmap and their promises, just sometimes they don't do well because it turns out the product wasn't what the market wanted, or the market wanted something different, or who knows? There could be 50 different reasons a project can ultimately fail. Not anything related to the team just giving up.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out. It wasn't something that the market really wanted to engage with. So there's so many risks to this. And I think everyone needs to understand that you're essentially a venture capitalist investor
Mm-hmm.
when you're coming in at this early stage. And by that, I mean you are, of course, coming in at an early opportunity when the valuation is low, the upside is high, but the risk is high because the project is not yet launched. We don't know whether the product's going to take off or whether it's going to even launch or what's going to happen. Really, I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. So the chance of hitting on every single one is impossible. But the goal, like any venture investor, is to hit on enough of them, and that when they hit so big that they make up for all of the previous ones that didn't hit and you lost money on effectively. That you're actually you're still very very profitable. So that's the mentality, and that's what people understand. If you participate in pre-sales, whether that's through Ferrum or a Launchpad or anywhere else, really, it's high risk, high reward. Some are going to fail, many may fail, but hopefully you'll be in enough that do well, which will make up for those losses.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, especially nowadays, I think, from what I can see as well, is that, and from myself, investor point of view as well, is that Ethereum actually takes on, quite top class projects, top tier right now, like nowadays. And I think that's brilliant. I think that like right now, as at the moment of recording this video, we pretty much starting the race for the Chibi Dinos token, because the snapshot is happening literally as we speak. So, well, not as we speak, like a couple hours ago. But I think that's brilliant. But just one more thing regarding the incubation. What do you think is the time frame usually, on average, from the moment the projects come to Ferrum before they launch and we do the community raise? What do you think is the time frame? How long they stay with us for?
Really depends on the project and the market conditions. We recommend no less than 3 months. We found that you cannot rush this process, and there's so much that goes into it, and things always take longer than you expect. And that, in fact, the longer that you take within that incubation phase, or that pre-launch phase, I should say, the better you'll perform, all of other things being equal, because more people will know about you, is really what it fundamentally comes down to. And you'll be more ready from a product standpoint, team standpoint, token utility standpoint, connection standpoint. You'll onboard the influencers, so on and so forth. So there's just so much work that goes into it. Each of one of these incubations, people don't realize it. But 3 months, 6 months, I mean, there's one that we're incubating now that I believe we signed up for the incubator around this time last year. Still has not launched. Good Game Finance, which is a great project, but they building out their product. They're going slowly, going methodically, I should say, and we're still in the pre-launch phase, believe it or not, with them. So it really depends on the project, depends on so many things. But we always tell projects, do not rush it. Do not rush it. There's so much that needs to go into this. And there's so, I could elaborate a little further. There's critical things we look at, right? In terms to determine readiness for a launch. The biggest one, in my view, is token utility. That is where you separate the wheat from the chaff. So if you launch a project that does not have any token utility, that is very hyped up, the best outcome you'll have is a pump and dump. Because you'll have a lot of hype, you'll have a lot of buyers buying in because influencers are talking about it or the market's excited about it. But since there is nothing to do with that token, people are just going to inevitably sell sooner or later, and it can get ugly. So we would much rather not even have a pump and dump. I'd rather just have like a very mediocre launch that slowly builds up. Because remember, the pump and dump, like anything, like any trading, there's a winner and a loser. And so you don't want that on your conscience where, somebody bought the top of a hyped up project that was just vaporware, had no utility, and they lost a bunch. That's horrible. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And token utility is how you solve that, really. So we're always, every time a project comes to us and it's like, we want to launch on X date. the first question I said, what's going to be, will there be token utility at that time?
Mm-hmm.
First question. It's all we ask. And the answer is no. We tell them you can't launch that. You shouldn't launch that. If you launch, then this is what's going to happen. Because that's what does happen. We've seen it time and again. Now, do projects always listen to us? No. They probably don't always listen to their advisors, unfortunately. And look, sometimes, there's projects that are the exception to that, and they can time it perfectly where they launch their token, they have a lot of hype, and then, exactly 14 days later or 30 days later, they launch their product in full finished form, and people want to use that product, and the token requires usage of that product. See, or the product requires usage of the token, I should say. See, that's the thing. You can't just launch a product. If you just launch a product, but it has nothing to do with the token, then you still don't have token utility, right? So we focusing so much on token utility. So that, of course, that implicates the product. Okay, how ready is the product? Okay, you tell me it's ready. Let's do a demo. Let's record the demo. Let's do that as marketing, right? Let's turn that into positive. But if there's, the product's not ready, there's no token utility, we're always saying don't do launch. What else goes into it? Marketing, right? Marketing and development. That's what crypto is. It's developing products that hopefully people want to use that solve problems, but it's also marketing them. It's marketing the company. And a lot of teams come to us and they only have like 2 devs, maybe a guy on the marketing team, maybe the guy on the marketing team is also this like a C-suite guy or girl. And in that case, the team is not built out. So, okay, we got to introduce you to our recruiters. We work with 3 or 4 different recruiters, some really good ones, like actually how we met Tom off the chain. Shout out to those guys. You got to build your team. Okay, so the team's in place finally. That usually takes like a month to hire somebody good. How are their social medias? How do anybody know about you? Oh wait, nobody, like there's only 20 followers on Twitter. Well, you got 6 months of work ahead of you to become famous. And then how do you become famous? Well, we got to connect you with the right influencers. We got to get you in front of the PR agencies like a Market Across. We got to have organic traction, organic marketing that's happening every day on Twitter and so on. We have guerrilla marketing agencies that can help with that too, whatever. Other marketing agencies. So we got to ramp up the marketing. That can take 3, 4, 5 months to get to the point where you have enough people on the social media where if you launch there, there's reason to believe there's gonna be demand for the token. But how do you afford all that? Oh crap, we don't have any money. Now we got to raise the funds to do all these things. Okay, so we got to introduce you to the investors, right? We got to introduce you to the VCs that we know, the communities that we know, the angel investors that we know. We invest. The governance committee is able to invest in these angel seed rounds when that's the right opportunity and the right time for that. And then you got to take those funds. You got to hire the people. You got to do the marketing. You got to build a product. It's crazy. The amount of work that goes into a crypto project is absurd. And we're hands on, but most of the team is doing most of the work, right? So they're the ones in the trenches grinding every day. And yeah, I mean, look, there's so much that can go wrong, but what we do as well now to sort of de-risk, there was a time in the last bull run where, you could launch a project much quicker and it would do well. Now it's not that way. So really take our time doing all these things I spoke about, and only towards the very end will we actually have the community offer any sort of investment in the community. Last thing we want is the community investing too early, and it's another 3, 4, 5 months before the project launches because they just weren't ready. We want the community to be able to come in like 2 weeks before the launch, but still in the private sale round. So they're getting the benefit of, better prices and so on. But they're not subject to that sort of delay, that risk that, their money's not locked up for extra long, already longer than the vesting's locked up. So there's so much that goes into it, Tom. I've just scratched the surface of it. I love it. I love helping these companies and troubleshooting and brainstorming and helping with the token utility and connecting. And we have a great team that is just in the trenches with these teams and projects every single day, essentially. So shout out to the incubation team at Ferrum, but it's crazy the amount of work that goes into this.
No, do you know what? It's mind blowing, honestly. Well, it's fascinating as well. because I think this conversation is really eye-opening to a lot of people that don't really know what it takes to launch a crypto project. It's not as easy as going to a coin kind of generation website where you just put some numbers and it generates a coin. Like, it doesn't work like that. That's not what it's all about. And I think this is great because, like, the way I see investing in crypto, it's not investing in a token or coin. It's investing in the, first of all, in the software, well, in a project, in the product, and investing especially in the people, in the teams. That's what it's all about. That's how I see it. And if there's no strong team, and if there's no good kind of problem solution basis onto the project, then I don't really pay that much attention. And I think that's what, well, it's not financial advice, but I think that this is probably one of the first steps to be doing your own research instead of investing in another Floki token.
Yeah, that's not to say there aren't other investment opportunities that can do well for you. I'm by nature very risk averse. I don't like losing money. Losing money. They say there's a psychological thing of like losing money is like 10 times more painful than like winning it or gaining it, whatever. Yeah. And that's very true, I think. So we want to do everything in our power to make sure that we're, the upside is there, but the risk is low. So, for every Floki, there's probably 10,000, jokies that you never heard of that were just, pump and dumps that died. Everybody lost money. Mm-hmm. So that's why we never, we won't incubate a meme token or anything like that. We try to, like you said, invest in people, invest in products, make sure that there's going to be demand for that product, make sure there's going to be token utility as a result of that product, make sure that even if that product doesn't do well, that the team is smart enough and quick enough and good enough to pivot and execute on something different. So investing in people is absolutely key. And that's one thing that I'm very proud of, actually, is that even if not all of the Ferrum incubated projects did well from an investment standpoint, I do not believe that any of them have given up yet. Mm-hmm. They're still working hard. We had Rocket Vault, Rocket X now on the other day. We had DFIT on the other day. We Revolve Games on the other day. Hopefully we're going to have Network in soon. These are all projects that to varying degrees have faced incredible challenges and setbacks and could have given up at any given moment. Mm-hmm. But because of the character of these people behind the projects, they did not give up. They continue to push, continue to work hard. They pivoted. They built new products, different products, better ones maybe. And it ultimately, in many cases, that have that's reflected in the token price, ultimately doing well. So, it's all about the team. It is really all about the team at the end of the day. And that's our main thesis, honestly, before anything else. Obviously token utility, product market fit, all those things are critical, but team is, to me, the biggest thing.
Yeah. Okay. So we've discussed the vetting process, we've discussed the incubation process as well. And this actually takes us to my final question for today, which is, how can someone, obviously, they watching the video, they thinking, okay, this is good, these guys seem actually quite nice. They seem quite cool. Well, maybe not cool. Well, maybe a little bit. But they see and they think, okay, well, they have the process thought out. How do they participate in pre-sales? What they need to do?
Yeah, so that's on the Ferrum investor side. We want to make things as simple and smooth and streamlined and as beneficial as possible. And so we've devised a system that we believe is actually superior in many respects to a lot of the other, incubators or launch pads that exist out there. So a couple, points of comparison. A lot of launch pads are first come, first serve. So if you want to invest, you have to be at your computer at a given time, and you need to be fast in actually sending in your funds. That to me is not ideal. What if you're sleeping? What if you're at work? What if you're, you have a job that requires most of your attention throughout the day, and you can't be in front of the computer at that given moment. And that's the vast majority of people. I think that'd be myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never presented first come first serve because I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why could I expect others to do that? So our system is very different. It provides a 72-hour window. Sometimes we actually even extend that, in which to both pledge your interest in the project. So that's essentially responding to an email that's been sent to you. And then of course you'll have, if you've pledged that you want to invest, then you're sent like a contribution form and you go through that process of actually investing into the project. So 72 hours total. Most people check their emails or the Ferrum announcement channel or Twitter, every couple of days at least. So that's it. We're able to appeal to a wide audience and, ensure that even if you're working or sleeping, you still have that opportunity. So that's one important distinction. The other really important distinction is the round that you are investing in almost all cases. So, launch pads, you're normally coming in as a public sale investor. So just to give people a little context on the structure of these pre-sales, you have normally anywhere between 4 or 5, or anywhere between 3 to 5 rounds of investment. You would have a seed round, which would be defined normally with the lowest price per token, but the longest vesting period. Mm-hmm. That's the trade-off. Then that will be followed by a strategic or a private round, whatever the project wants to label that. And effectively, it's a little bit of a higher price, but a little bit better vesting. And then you would have the public round, which would be the highest price within this fundraising, the ICO essentially, but the best vesting. Mm-hmm. So so launch pads are almost always investors within that public sale, which can have some benefits. That's not, not to say it's always a bad thing to be in the public sale round, but the price is going to be higher. The price per token will be higher. You may have a little bit shorter vesting. It's normal than private. But the Ferrum investors, because of the way we position ourselves in the market and the way that we strike deals with these projects, we essentially require them to provide us an allocation, our community allocation, into the private sale, or maybe even an earlier rounds if it's available. So the Ferrum community is typically getting it at a better price per token than other launch pads. So that's another key distinction. And then the third thing that I think is maybe the most important is we're not like a factory. We're an incubator. Mm-hmm. We're very hands-on. We can only take on so many projects at once. And I think that should mean, or tends to mean, I hope it means, that because the work that we put into each one and the attention given to each one, that we've given each one of them a higher likelihood of long-term success. Mm-hmm. Now that's not always, we can't guarantee that. It's not always the case. We've had our share of projects that haven't done well, but because of that extra attention, that time we put into it, each one, all the other things being equal, they should perform better than ones that just, a launch pad, just, okay, yeah, I've accepted a launch pad. I did a tweet, I did an announcement, and we're going to raise funds for you. And then your token's going to launch the next day. Mm-hmm. That's a 1-week process. We're talking 3 months, 6 months, year-long processes to get to the point where a project's ready for launch if they come through the Ferrum incubator. So it's a completely different ballgame than your average launch pad.
Okay. And what can you tell us, just one more thing, about the guaranteed allocations?
Oh, yeah. I should have mentioned that we have that set up as well, right? Where if you hold a certain amount of Ferrum, you're actually guaranteed to get an allocation. Again, it's not first come, first serve. It's not a lottery. although we do have a lottery tier for smaller holders. But for your guaranteed, you want a guaranteed allocation. You only need to hold 25,000 Ferrum and zero point 0.3 Ferrum X on your MetaMask on the Binance Smart Chain. And then you'll automatically qualify. We'll see, how much you hold. We have basically a system, a formula in place, which will determine, it looks at how much allocation we've been given, how many people have pledged, how much each person holds, and then it determines how much allocation each individual will be offered. And we send out those forms. So, you just hold your Ferrum, and you'll just get offered every single allocation that comes through the Ferrum incubator, as long as you're holding that minimum, and you have to stay holding that up until the first distribution of that project's token, or else you risk getting a refund. So you want to hold on to that. But yeah, getting in and getting a guaranteed allocation extremely easy. Just holding Ferrum on your MetaMask wallet, and you automatically qualify. 25,000 Ferrum, 0.3 Ferrum X, the minimum. Obviously, higher you go. There's a whole page on the site, pre-sale page on the site, which explains the whole tiers and everything like that. You can see what you would get if you hold this much, whatever. But yeah, super easy, guaranteed allocations, not first come, first serve, not lottery.
Lovely, thank you. And the link to the pre-sale page at Ferrum.network is going to be in the description as well. And some of the links to the videos that we've discussed and we've talked about and we've mentioned today, such as the DFIT video where we reflect back on the incubation process at Ferrum as well. All the links are going to be in the description. Come and join us on Telegram and Discord, and let's discuss potential investments and the incubated projects as well on that. Ian, thank you so much for sharing this. I think this is really valuable because you've explained really well the whole process, what actually happens behind what everyone can see before the projects actually get released to the public, before we announce snapshots and pre-sale contribution links and pledge forms. I think that's super exciting and super interesting as well. So thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.